Hello there and welcome. In this video, I got you 10 tips and tricks around the Reaver culture which will help you understanding the culture better, use their strengths and avoid their weaknesses, and get a good grasp on building builds around them and hopefully enjoying this fine faction. So let's get started with number one that I want to talk about. Since the Reavers are allowed to declare war on whoever they want, whenever they want, how often they want, via the total war trait, everybody tends to hate them a little bit. So in all games that I've been playing as Reaver, the AI had the strong bias towards declaring war sooner or later against me. At the end of the day, everybody hates you because you have that extreme freedom of doing whatever you want diplomacy-wise. This is insofar important as this means diplomacy playstyle is not the best shoe to fit in for the Reavers. You're good at warfare, utilize that, don't try to be good friends with the AI, see them as something that you gain resources from and not something to make treaties with when you're playing Reavers. I mean, there's always fringe cases and fringe builds where you go exactly the other way around, but in general, Reavers are just hated by everyone. Number two, I want to talk quickly a little bit about the marking mechanics. Reavers have the trait called Focused Aggression, which makes your ranged attacks hit harder the more marked stacks the enemy has. This means your melee attacks need to go first, especially in the first turn, before the ranged people attack. In many builds, I go exactly the other way around. The ranged people go first to weaken the enemy, and then the melee goes in to finish them off. With the Reavers, you play exactly the other way around. Your melee dudes go in first for the marking, and then the ranged dudes pick them off and finish them off. This means your front lines want to avoid retaliation damage either via flanking, you can utilize shock troops, many things. But yeah, like I said, using this from turn 1 on correctly makes a big difference in damage because every mark charge that you get on the enemy is 10% more damage. It really counts a lot. Number 3, a few things about war spoils. So war spoils are the extra resource of the Reaver culture, and obviously we can recruit ourselves mage lock cannons out of that. But the really interesting part about war spoils is that if we subdue an enemy via overseers, we can recruit them afterwards. And this means that war spoils are either used for cannons, used for siege projects, if I remember correctly, there's also one there. But altogether, if you don't want the cannons, they are pretty good, but not every build utilizes them. You can get yourself a lot of other troops, but more about that later in its specific point. I just want to point out that this stuff is best used either in artillery or in recruiting people. If you don't earn war spoils, it's not the worst thing either, you just don't have access to these parts. Number 4, the Reaver culture has an innate synergy with anything construct. This is clearly because of the mage lock cannon. You have access to a tier 3 construct unit, so any tome that goes around constructs is absolutely massive for this culture by itself, because you already have a very powerful construct unit. The tome of the construct, for example, provides ample things that make your golems and constructs harder to kill. There's more tomes going into the same venue. Dreadnought is one of the best. Either way, you can go for any tome that utilizes constructs, boosts up constructs, provides new constructs, because you have innate access and synergy to these. Number 5, your knowledge production as Reavers is really not good. You don't have anything in your portfolio that makes it any easier to get yourself knowledge. You're locked out of diplomacy, which is always a nice way of gaining knowledge. You are not really good at milking free cities for knowledge except via warfare, because you don't even have Whispering Stone to start with. So altogether, your focus should always be to get some parts into the build that get you more knowledge, either via bringing in shadow magics, knowledge extraction, or forcing in some Whispering Stones into the build, conquer the free city, vassalize it, and then milk it for knowledge. Whatever you do, this is one of the weak sides of the culture that needs to be worked around, otherwise you will fall back. You have a massive advantage warfare-wise, but economy-wise, in that end, magic and knowledge are two resources you are not going to have enough of, but knowledge is the least one. Now, number 6, I want to show you a few terrain synergies that the Reavers innately have. You have access to the Reaver Manufactorum, which is a mine which interacts with quarries, foresters, and mines. This means you have an innate synergy for a few specific tomes that offer province improvements around quarries, foresters, and mines. This means Materium, Nature, and yeah, Materium and Nature mostly are the two things that revolve around that. The Reaver Manufactorum is insofar a really interesting province improvement as it gives you a better mine that also gives you militaristic chances. So generally, I really want to say that this extra draft income might sound like not much, but if you utilize it, you get faster troops, and faster troop production is very important for this faction in general because you want to make war a lot, which brings me to number 7, war dependency. So with the Reavers, you are actually not really caring too much about the fact that everybody declares war on you because everything in your culture requires you to be constantly fighting with somebody. War spoils need to be taken. You will utilize your entire kit around fighting. So war is something you actually thrive on. So if you don't have an AI you can battle with, you should definitely try to get your hand on free cities to fight with. And my recommendation here is to go for the conquering of them and then vassalize them and then redo it after a while again if the AI doesn't dare to attack you. But whatever you do, keep something on your war tab because it's just some vital form of income for you, especially when you're running stuff like knowledge extraction. You gain per defeated hero knowledge, and this is just very, very beneficial. Like I said, low knowledge production is a problem. Number 8, the ranged advantage of the Reavers knows really no equal. There's no culture that I know that is so dominating on ranged combat, with an exception for the high culture maybe, but the high culture doesn't have mage locks. The thing here is focused aggression does not only increase the damage that these guys do, it also cuts off the evasion of the enemy, which means your ranged attackers will eventually have a 100% hit rate pretty quickly. And your cultural unit, the Mage Lock, is just one of the very, very best ranged units out there. They have been recently, I would even say, buffed in the Ogre update, so it sort of looked like a nerf at the first glance, but now we have a snapshot for 1 action and a full shot with 3 actions, but even the snapshot packs so much of a punch and has an 80% accuracy. With enough marking, it's just so much damage. Mage Locks also have the 50% breaching traits, so your damage is just sky high without doing anything. This is the best part about it. This is also something which I'd say should be used when you are playing Reavers as hard as you can. Mage Locks and Mage Lock Cannons are basically the trademark units of your culture, and Mage Lock Cannons have the same advantages here, and they can also not be retaliated. They have a AoE attack, and yeah, use this advantage, play around it. This is, in my opinion, one of the strongest suits of the Reaver culture. They don't need extra arches, but they surely like beneficial enchantments for archers. Number 9, another thing that is worth mentioning, and it is not such a good one, your frontline is really lacking HP. You have tier 1 frontliners, a skirmisher and a spear, and after that, your next frontliner that you'll get is another skirmisher, and they only get the baseline defense values from a tier 3 unit. They have nothing extra on armor. Your natural frontline is extremely squishy. And that is something really problematic because I said in point 2 that we need to go first in melee before we can shoot. So this is best fixed by recruiting some outside expertise via tomes. So I'd strongly recommend to check out some solution for that problem. Even if it's just a flat out tome of warding offering you tier 1 shields, but in general, there's so many better options than that. The Iron golems from the Tome of Artificing come in cheap and have a lot of synergy with your build. There's lots of options that you can take, but I dare say you need to take some action on your front line. It is inevitable. You can also do that with Overseers, which brings me nicely to number 10. Overseers give you the opportunity to utilize something that is innately present for the Reavers. They have a very high synergy with other cultures' troops. This is because your troops offer everything to kill the enemy, but lack anything to properly control the enemy. We have damage with no big supporty things. The Overseers are really the only supporty option we got, and their support is just completely immobilizing somebody who is already immobilized, and our only source of innate immobilization is a tier 1 dude that... No, that is just not powerful in itself. But whenever you see enemies that you want to have and like to have, you should really try to get that suppressing barrage in and recruit them. Or try to get yourself people that immobilize enemies more reliable, or tomes that do so. Whatever you do, your synergy with other cultures' units pays off best by just having enough war spoils, and when you see something on the enemy side that you feel like, yeah, that is exactly what I could use, go for it, immobilize them, subdue them, recruit them, and you're doing it the Reaver way. Now, these are the things that I meant to share with you. Obviously, there's plenty more to say, and I hope that you have questions or something like that. Maybe you want to add in something like something yourself in the comment section. Either way, thanks for watching. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, and feel free to check on out the description box. Feel also free to support the channel. There's YouTube channel membership thingies and other ways and means in the description box. Big thanks to all of the supporters out there, and a big thanks especially to you, dear viewer, for taking the time to watch this video up until the very end. Deeply appreciate that, and I hope you had a great day so far, and see you on the next one. Bye bye!